Would it really help if the federal government provided a universal basic income? So right now, different areas within our country are still sending out their own version of stimulus checks to thousands of Americans, with some being provided with as much as $2,000 payments. How much would that help you out today? Now, I'm also discussing the presidential playing field as we're seeing things heat up with both parties. Now, on that note, let's talk about the hot topic that is Hunter Biden's case. Were you aware that a whistleblower for his case has just been indicted? That's right, folks. For all the people that commented that the Biden family will charge these whistleblowers, then congratulations, you predicted this one perfectly. Gail Luft, one of the whistleblowers touted by the Republican Party as a key witness in their investigation to the Biden family dealings, has just been charged under different counts, which include failure to register as a foreign agent, making false statements to investigators, and illicit arms trafficking. He was arrested early this year but was released on bail.
Gail Luft, a citizen of the United States and Israel, has been charged by the federal prosecutors with acting as an unregistered agent of China. He is also accused of seeking to broker the sale of weapons and Iranian oil. The head of the U.S. think tank Analysis of Global Security, Gail Luft, allegedly recruited and paid a former high-ranking U.S. government official on the behalf of principals based in China in 2016. He did so without registering as a foreign agent as required by law. Prosecutors have not yet identified the former U.S. official. They have nonetheless disclosed that he was working as an advisor to then-President-elect Donald Trump at the time. Prosecutors allege Luft brokered a deal for Chinese companies to sell weapons to countries including Libya, the United Arab Emirates, and Kenya, despite lacking the license needed under U.S. law.
Now, he says that he's never been an arms dealer and that the Department of Justice is merely just trying to protect Joe, Jim, and Hunter Biden. Wow. We're probably going to be seeing evidence against him soon, but do you guys think that he's right? Is the DOJ being weaponized to protect the president and his family from any accountability? Senator Ron Johnson says that this is obviously a cover-up and that authorities, they're only doing this to silence Luft. He also argues that the whistleblower is an important witness that needs to be granted immunity so that they can tell the American people and the whole world about this alleged corruption of the Biden family. But what are your thoughts on this? Now, on the other hand, former President Donald Trump is still dealing with a lot of legal troubles, as his team is now requesting to have the case postponed until after next year's election, as the December trial would not provide them with enough time to prepare properly. Many analysts and lawmakers continue to compare the treatment of Trump's case to that of first son Hunter Biden, with many people saying that it's pretty obvious that the odds are stacked against the former president. But what do you guys think about that? Now, of course, there are those who completely disagree, especially with most of the recent developments with the Biden administration's appeal to have them communicate with social media platforms. Doesn't it sound exactly like the Twitter files that Elon Musk showed the public, wherein the federal government had complete control of what could trend on social media when it came to the health crisis? So anyway, a federal judge from Louisiana just rejected the request for the Department of Justice to stay an order limiting the current administration's communication with social media platforms over their concerns of free speech. The reason as to why we've been working with this ruling is the allegations that federal officials worked hand in hand with these platforms to target specific people who had opinions and views that didn't necessarily match with the narrative that the Biden administration was pushing for. This then supposedly led to many different people being removed from platforms such as Twitter and even Facebook. Do you guys think that this actually happened? Did any of you guys feel suppressed during this health crisis? Did you find yourself in Facebook jail for saying something you shouldn't have? Step on some toes? From one rejection to the next, former President Donald Trump has just declined an invitation from Tucker Carlson for the first forum for 2024 Republican presidential candidates. Now, while Trump is the front runner for the GOP, his schedule doesn't mix with the event, as he's going to be in Florida for a conference. Florida's own Governor Ron DeSantis won't attend his own state's event, but will actually be with Tucker Carlson at this time. So, with other Republican primary hopefuls like former VP Mike Pence, Senator Tim Scott, and Nikki Haley, with the candidates expecting at least a 25-minute talk with Carlson. Will any of you guys want to see Trump debate any of these candidates? Now, it's pretty hard to see him facing pretty much any of these candidates at some point in time, since the recent polls are showing him leading all of them by a huge margin. It looks as if the former president is all systems go when it comes to his plan to get back to the White House. Kind of different compared to the schedule of President Biden. You see, there was a lot of criticism as the president chose to skip a recent NATO leadership summit's opening dinner in Lithuania's capital, citing that his schedule has been jam-packed lately. And I know know exactly what you guys are probably going to say. Didn't we just see him chilling near his vacation home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware? Well, yes, but because we saw plenty of photos of the commander-in-chief laying down under the sun, it doesn't mean that he didn't work his butt off during that week, right? I mean, critics say that he almost worked an entire standard work week, and that can't be easy at 80 years old, right? Now, it also makes me wonder, since the president is tanning at the beach, does this mean that the Secret Service wears beach clothes, or are they still wearing suits under the hot sun? So what are your thoughts on President Biden's schedule? Is this something you think you can handle when you're 80? But I'm not sure that the Biden administration has to have its hands full with a lot of the problems that you and I face. I mean, just look at our economy, right? The stock market doesn't seem to care about anything that's happening, and don't get me started with the benefits that are owed to Americans like Social Security, SSI, or SSDI. However, Bill Gross, y'all heard of this guy, right? The bond king. Well, Bill Gross is saying that our economy is still propped up from money that you and I received from the health crisis. Wait a minute, does this guy mean stimulus checks? Because I'm pretty sure most of us have long spent that money. However, these experts are saying that the added budget didn't really work out well for us, as more of us just started to save less and borrow even more on credit cards. And here's where things become even more realistic. So Gross says that Americans, they're going to run out of fuel within the end of the year, maybe the end of next year. So what happens when we run out of gas? He is predicting that a recession will probably happen in our country, and there's not much that many of us can do about it, as we've probably already exhausted all of our savings by that time. It sure would help if some of us got a little bit of help, kind of like what's happening in different areas in our country where residents are being provided with different forms of stimulus checks. So here's some of the most recent updates when it comes to financial aid that is still being provided to this day. So in Los Angeles, a new guaranteed income program called Breathe will be sending out $1,000 a month to recipients with no strings attached. The Universal Basic Income Program selected 1,000 residents between the ages of 21 and 23 years old, and around 200 of them have already received payments last June. In Rochester, New York, around 1,500 city workers will get an extra $2,000 bonus per person this year, while 600 part-time workers will get $1,000 bonuses. El Monte, California, on the other hand, they're providing aid through their Guaranteed Basic Income Program for 125 randomly selected households who live under the poverty line. So these households are set to receive $500 a month for an entire year. So what are your thoughts on these kind of programs? Is this something worth exploring at the federal level, or is this literally doing more harm to us than the good that it is doing? Especially for those who really need the help, though. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And while you guys are down there, you might also be interested with providing yourself the ability to write your own checks. So what do I mean by that? What if your cash flow far exceeded your expenses? What if you had investments in markets and sectors that are showing a lot of opportunities these days? Now, if you're interested in learning more about side hustles or small businesses, potentially generating multiple streams of income, or maybe you want to learn about investments in real estate, the stock market, index funds, ETFs, options, or maybe investments in gold and silver, feel free to drop me some comments down below. The road to financial freedom is always shortest during a downturn. You don't want to miss your chance this time around, guys. By the way, if you made it this far in the video, please drop a quick like for the video, consider subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.